Thank you so much for coming. Good afternoon. My name is Michael Shida. I am the Director of Business Development for Retail, Liquor, Gaming, and QSR. That is a handful. For those that have been longtime clients of Environics, I've taken over Michelle Sexsmith's old role at Environics since she has transitioned into a very well-deserved retirement. Although it feels like she's left me with incredibly monumental shoes to fill sometimes, I do come to EA with over 15 years of experience on the retail side. Working with some fantastic retailers, I've met some great people along the way, many that are in this room, especially this man over here that I've had the benefit of working with in a past life, Paulo Lebranch. So just a precursor to what we're going to be talking about today, before Paulo jumps into it. Really, during COVID, I think we saw unprecedented retail digital investment. A lot of it really fundamentally necessary to keep business operational and dollars falling in through the door. Now as we normalize into this new post-COVID world, let's call it, we're really seeing the need for tying some of that investment and looking at really ways of measuring it and tying ROI into that investment. We heard Jan a little bit this morning talk about mobile analytics and ClickScapes as being the holy grail of insights and gaining that 360 view into the customer. Today we're going to give you a little bit of a glimpse into that holy grail and talk about a little bit of our partnership with PetValu and how we were able to demonstrate some of those fundamental recent investments on the digital side of the business and how it's resulted not only in increased online but in-store as well as within the core segments that matter the most within the pet category. Paulo?
Thank you, Mike. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Paulo Lebranch. I'm the Director of Marketing Analytics at PetValu. Similar to Mike, I have about 15 years of analytical experience in several roles, working with a lot of retailers, Lowe's being one of them with Mike here, as well as at Sears and at Labranche. Now, before we begin the presentation, I just want to give everybody a little bit of background of PetValu. For those of you who are not aware, PetValu is Canada's leading retailer for pet food and pet-related supplies. We have over 40 years of experience serving pet parents. We have over 700 stores throughout Canada in all 10 provinces. We strongly believe in giving back to the community. With our in-store fundraising efforts over the past decade, we raised more than $17 million that we've given back to communities for shelters, rescues, and the community. We also have adoption events where we found forever homes for more than 38,000 pets. Next slide, please. That's a little bit about PetValu. Now let's dive into the presentation. There we go. As Mike mentioned earlier, we partnered with Environics to help understand how our digital investment in Ontario over the past few years has impacted our in-store and online traffic growth. What you see on the screen right now is a timeline of our digital investment in Ontario, the pre, the investment period, and the post. It's no secret, at PetValu, we definitely were underdeveloped versus the competition. In 2019, our customers couldn't even order a product online. They could look at a catalog, but that was pretty much the extent of it. Fast forward to 2020, our customers still cannot purchase that product online during COVID, when COVID hit. But we quickly accelerated our timeline. We adapted, and within no time, we had a solution that allowed our customers to make a purchase online, drive to a PetValu, have that sales associate drop off their purchase in the back of their car or their trunk. Then, fast forward a little bit more, we kept our foot on the accelerator. By Feb 2021, we fully launched our direct-to-consumer, where our customers were able to go online, make that purchase, and have that order shipped to their home. As well as we fully launched our click and collect, our ratings and reviews. Then fast forward to October 2021, we fully launched our click and collect. So by the end of October 2021, we had 3 options for our customers. They could purchase in-store, they can purchase online and have it delivered to their home, or they can go to a store and pick it up. We understood the importance of having options for customers, especially in this day and age, when consumers or our customers are being hit by every single angle by different media, digital, traditional, different options, making the purchase on their mobile, their tablet, their desktop. Do I pick up in store, or do I want to pick up in store? Do I want to deliver it at my home? Do I want to go in store? And that's what we really understood, that giving all these options was important to the customer, and that's really what we did. We focused on that, and we really saw our website as the front porch, the gateway for our customer to be able to come in, make that decision, do that product research. Read the ratings and reviews. Understand, read up on trends. Make that decision to purchase that item, have it shipped to their home, or make that decision to go pick it up at store. Use our store locator. Maybe I want some more information on that product. Let's go into the PetValu store. Talk to a sales associate. That sales associate might even have additional recommendations for their solutions. So that's really what we focused on these past 3 years. And with that, we started to question and wonder, we're feeling pretty good about our online, but let's get some more information. How much of our online traffic is that impacting? And more importantly, with all this online options, how is that impacting our in-store traffic? And with that, that's what we partnered with Mike and his team to help understand that. And now I'm going to pass it back to Mike to explain some of the tools that they use to help us understand.
Thank you. So although we leveraged a few different data sets for this project, the bulk of the work lent heavily onto MobileScapes and ClickScapes. For those of you that aren't familiar with the two data sets, MobileScapes is privacy-compliant data collected from location-enabled apps and devices. Simply put, it gives you the who, the what, the where, and the how behind who's visiting your locations and your competitor locations. Similarly, ClickScapes does the same, except within a digital ecosystem. ClickScapes captures up-to-date visitors and visits for thousands of websites and mobile apps to help support organizations in identifying trends and keeping an eye on the competition. And of course, once we completed the measurement, we tie it all back to PRIZM, so now it becomes actionable for Paulo and his team. We can tell them areas where they may be succeeding, areas of underperformance, and of course, areas of opportunity and growth.
Thank you, Mike. So what's happening into the pet category in Ontario? I won't spend too much time on this. With the help of Environics and using their data, they were able to help us understand that the pet total spending in Canada is approximately $11 billion. But I want to isolate this just to Ontario because this study, again, was only done for Ontario. Ontario is approximately $5 billion, so that's almost half of the total Canadian pet expense in Canada. And what's included in that are pet services, pet goods, the purchase of pets, veterinary services, and other services. So now let's dive into it. There we go. What was the impact of our digital investment over the past 3 years, and how did that impact our online and in-store traffic growth? So the chart you see here, this first chart, is both our online and in-store traffic growth for Ontario only. It looks at our growth gap versus the competitor's growth gap. So just for an example, it looks at our year-over-year growth. So say PetValu's year-over-year growth was 10%. Our competitor, we'll call them competitor X, their year-over-year growth was 4%. That's a 6% growth gap. So what we did is, with Environics, is trended all that out during our digital investment timeline. And I just also want to point out the scale. You can see it peaks there, about 160% growth gap in the middle. Now, there's a lot of variables in there, and again, important to note that this is both online and in-store traffic growth. But really, first look at this chart, you can really see that it's a pretty positive story. You can pretty much say after September 2020, we're almost seeing double-digit growth gap across the board up until more recently. Now, let's break that into in-store and online. There we go. Looking at our in-store only growth gap versus the competitor, again, it's the same view looking at our growth versus competitor X, that growth gap there. The scale, it's shrunk quite a bit. It peaks there about 40 to 50%. Important to note, though, we can't attribute this to all to digital. We had other investments on the go as well. We had new stores. We had about 30 new stores open. We had remodels. We had the digital investment plus our other marketing initiatives and investments. But what you can clearly take away from the slide is our digital investment did not negatively impact our in-store traffic growth, as you can see. And again, a good news story. You can pretty much say that after September 2020, we were seeing double-digit growth. And there's lots of bumps and hurdles there, but it was in the midst of COVID as well as all those other investments that I noted. Now let's look at our online visits. Again, for Ontario only, we're looking at our growth gap versus the competitor. Now this is pretty impressive. It scales up to almost 500-600% there in the middle. But one thing to really highlight of importance is, as I noted earlier, we were underdeveloped versus our competition. Back in 2019 and even 2020, our customers couldn't even make that purchase online. But when we started to accelerate and invest digitally and have those options for the customer, you can see that our growth gap was significant, and we're really starting to shrink that gap. Now, when you look at more recently, the last few months, it looks like it's trending down and flattening out. But one thing I forgot to mention was we recently launched our subscription. We just released that announcement yesterday. So our customers now have another option with subscriptions to place their order. They can order their products when they want and how often and frequently that they want. Now, with that being said, the conclusion from these last few slides analysis is, has our digital investment helped our online growth? I could say yes, it looks like it has when we compare our growth gap versus the competitor. Has it negatively impacted our in-store traffic growth because there's so many different variables in there, it's hard to break out? I'd say it has not negatively impacted our in-store traffic growth. So now what's the next step? I know Mike and team have been working with this analysis and layering on with their PRIZM data to understand our segments and how we can best communicate to the customer. So we'll be working closely with Mike and his team in the coming months for that. Now I'll pass it to Mike.
I didn't know about the subscription base. Sounds like we need a new analysis done. So as we shift and tie the measurement back to PRIZM, we start looking at how the profile of both the in-store and online shopper, we look at how the profile of the in-store and online shopper may have changed since the investment period. While we don't see a significant shift within the in-store shopper, likely in large part to do where the PetValu locations are, where the stores are located, we do see increased penetration within the suburban and rural family segments. So essentially, segments haven't shifted, but what PetValu is seeing is increased penetration within those segments that they were already hitting. Within the digital space, urban segments remain dominant in using online as their channel of preference. Similar to in-store, with increased penetration, we see increased penetration when comparing pre-investment versus post-investment. Okay. So how does this compare to the competition? While we don't see significant shifts in the customer profile for both PetValu and the national retailer from the pre- and post-investment period, we do see some fundamental uniqueness in their lifestyle types, loyalty, and spending habits. PetValu is attracting a larger volume of customers, with 38% of the segment population shopping both inline and on-store. Of the 2.2 million loyal customers, those segments make up nearly half of all pet expenditure in the marketplace. From a spend per household, that's nearly $1,100, approximately $200 more than the closest competition. So what is next for PetValu? In possible future iterations of the project, PetValu could layer on PRIZM segments to target priority lifestyle types. Gone are the days of the blanketed market approach. Retailers need guidance on who their core customers are and where the biggest opportunities lie. For PetValu in particular, some of those targetable segments include the top spending segments within the pet category. The 5 segments you see here, although they only represent 6% of the overall Ontario population, they make up for over 11% of all pet-related goods spend. Knowing where they live and play could play a pivotal role in PetValu's targeting efforts and allow them to be much more surgical in their marketing efforts. Here we're looking at top spending segments, top spending PRIZM lifestyle types, and where they exhibited the highest concentration of households in the GTA. So essentially that concludes the project. Some of the key takeaways is that PetValu has considerably closed the gap with competitor X over time, showing strong growth in the marketplace. The in-store gap is much smaller than online as a result of some of the offline investments such as opening new stores and store remodels, as well as digital and marketing initiatives. Digital investment has aided in the growth of online visits compared to 2020. PetValu has a significantly larger loyal customer penetration with greater annual pet expenditures exceeding $2.4 billion. These shoppers tend to be more older suburban families and couples compared to the competitor shoppers. PetValu and the other national leading pet retailer compete in the same markets with a mix of urban and suburban families and young adults shopping at both retailers. PRIZM can be used for further targeting and activation. PetValu can layer on PRIZM segments to target priority lifestyle types. PRIZM can also be used to identify where priority lifestyle types live and how to best communicate with them. That is essentially it. So I want to thank you, Paulo, for working on this project together. I want to thank everybody in the audience, really for kind of pushing the boundaries on what we do with data and making us all better researchers in the process. So thank you. I think we're doing a Q&A, if there is any questions. Anybody? Anybody? Okay. There is one housekeeping note. If there is questions, please feel free to approach me and Paulo later. We'll be here all afternoon. Please make your way promptly to the next breakout session. Locations are on the screen behind me. And thank you all for coming.